Start recording. Okay, so one of the things that I'm going to push for is, oh, you got everything grouped, to make sure that part of what makes this look playful and intriguing is this organic shape that you have, wherein that's a straight line. You know, I see you kind of got a little bit of organics here. So I'm going to really push you to try to get that, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we'll also walk through why you're not getting tangency, which is fine. But now remember, at this point though, it's roughed in. This is more than enough for you to bring this into KeyShot and start sketching over top. So that's, I don't have my tablet set up. So that's one of the things that I'm looking for from you, is not to go from this to final model, but it's to go from this, your inspiration of your form, into a model that has it roughed in, and then look at it, get different views, and find that position, you know, and say, well, okay, here is this, but what do I want this to do? You know, let me draw over, here's a view, let me sketch this out and do that sketch. Here's this angle, I want it to look like this. Yeah, like what do I need to do? I've got it roughed in. So this is a pretty good pass of your first thing, but do I want it to look different? So we've got time today, so I'm going to do some of that. So I'm going to come in here. We're going to send the KeyShot. Now again, you see how I do horrible job of sketching when someone's watching. So anxiety is a real thing. So come on, there we go. So we bring it in, and now I'm going to grab it, because you can see the shadows are kind of low. So we're just going to grab that, and we're just going to move it up. And we're going to come in. Let's apply a material. I'm going to I think, you know, environment, well, so I can, okay, so here, I'll show you how to cheat. But we're going to come in and we're just going to apply material. So we can come in and then just go, always make sure if your computer has GPU mode, that's what you want to render in. What are we going to do here? Let's just go 3K. Shoot. And I did not save that to where I wanted it to go. Let's just go there. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna do all this And then I'm not going to know where my pen is. That will piss me off big. My dog stole it again. Oh, there it is. Okay, so you can see your rendering. So for this, this is where, and you have multiple views. Like right now, this is your surface model. Does this look organic? Does it need to be, can I make this more, get it look wavy? When this zooms into here, what does that look like? Does this end up being wobbly? What do I want this to look like? And even this is meant to be quick and rough. Because again, you're not trying to make it perfect. Like, does this sweep up here? And start playing with it and then rotate it around so you can see what you want. Then you're going to go back and it's like, okay, I've played that. I've made some notes. I want this. I want that. I want this. How are we? And you should be comparing this model to your mural board that was fun and whimsical, because that can get lost when you're starting using a rigid software. Does that make sense? So we always got to be careful of that. So let's talk a little bit about your model here and about why you might not be able to be getting tangency here. So loft, 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 loft. Okay, I'm just going to go back a little bit further. So you did the revolves. These are all revolves. So one of the things that you might want to consider is to get that organic shape is to take this and maybe don't do a revolve, but do a loft. So that you've got maybe 5 curves. And then on each one of those curves, where here, whoops. Yeah. So what you would do is you would end up, oh, I'm still sharing. You'd end up with a series of planes. And each one would have a curve, so it would all have the same tangency. But then maybe you manipulate that curve. And then the next one, maybe the next one looks like, so then it's going to wobble in and out to get that organic shape. Yeah, yep. I'll show you something else that you can do too. But first, so you did that. So you did the surface trim, which I have no clue what the hell you did. Ah, it was just one sketch cutting through. Nice, smart, smart. Now, this should have been strategic in the sense that you wanted the cutouts to be where they were going to go. So now let's look at your first loft. So awesome job. You're just missing the one little feature that you didn't do. So with lofts, we can control the end constraint and the start constraint. And what that means is end constraint is what is it doing here? What constraint are we applying to it? Right now, you have position. So we've talked about position, G1, G2. G1 is tangency, G2 is curvature. And G0 is position. Position is exactly what you have here, which is simply that they touch. That is the only requirement that needs to be met. Now, if I come in here, what edge am I going to do here? We're going to go edge 1. So edge 1 is your start. And we're going to come in and we're going to say the start constraint, we want it to be tangent to the face. Oh, maybe it's not going to like that because of the angle. So let's go to end constraint and make that tangent to face too. Oh, I see what it's trying to do. So it's a little bit hard. Well, yeah, you could try because that's what it's going to do. It's trying to cut each other off, so it's not going in a straight enough line. So exactly. So like for example, let me go to a top view here. And this is the hardest thing kind of sometimes to start learning is why did it not do it? So this is a top view. It's even hard for me to figure this out. So let me try something else. I want to just see if any of them. So yes, let me show you that in a second. Not the easiest, but it can be done. So let's take a look at this one because it looks like this one is the most kind of in line here. It's a little twisted. So usually you want to have this in a straight line. So see how that changed? So I can rotate this all the way over here and you can see how we're getting a different shape. So for what we're doing here, we don't want that. Let's try to keep it in a straight line. No, it's not going to like it. Yeah, and the reason what it's doing is because it's coming off of a sphere. So let me try something here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the boundary surface. And I'm going to go from there to there. And you'll see that I got a pretty damn straight line. You'll eventually get used to just touching on them. So now let me do this, and I'm going to go tangent to face, and it's not going to like that. I want it Oh, there we go. Well, that's not, I mean, it's going to do something, but it's not going to give us what we want. Yeah. Well, not, so there is that, but then there's also what you can do too, though, is you can come back in and let's go. What you can do is you can do the loft, but now what we can do is you could cut this surface and draw the curves in. So this part of this is because it's a sphere and it's having a hard time understanding what direction it wants to go in. Let me just see something here. Okay, so let's say you want to do this. What we can do is I'm going to come and I'm going to, on a sketch, is that my top right plane? Is I'm going to draw a line here. Yeah, because sometimes again, it's one of those things where you can try it with one command, and if it works, awesome. But don't spend so much time destroying yourself to do that. Exactly. So what I can then do is, so what I'm doing is I'm removing the material that I don't want, and then I'm going to fill back in. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to surface, and I'm going to delete this face and this face. Now, I want to be able to have edges to snap to. Kind of like what we talked about yesterday a little bit, So what I'm going to do, what I should do, is hide everything. There we go. So if that was the top, then I want to go to, no, that's not where I want to go. Actually, I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use two curves. And I'm going to come in, since I want something to snap onto, I'll do a sketch. Now I can either choose to have it, like how do I want it? Where do I want it? We're just going to do this. And again, remember, if I'm going to do a split line, it has to go all the way through that surface. So insert curve. And I could do this with a plane too. Like I could draw a plane and extrude the plane and then do that. There's a variety of ways you can do it. Okay, so now I've got these edges. So before we do anything, I just want to think about something here, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to try to, you know what, let me do this first. We'll go back one, and I want to see if we're far enough back that it'll allow us, no, not fill. There we go. So the problem that we were having is the circle hole was up in this area here, so it was trying to make it very small. So we're in here, and I can adjust this. You know, let's come here, make that tangent, and play with it. You know, and you start getting something. Now, that's not what you wanted though. That's way too big. Yep. So, what you want to do, because again, okay, that's how much control I got. But that's not the control I wanted. So then the question is okay, so let me do this. We're going to come in, and I'll just delete that. And I'm going to use, I'll see if a 3D curve is going to do what I want. So I'm going to go sketch. And the reason I want to see what a 3D curve will do is because this is an easy way to control the 3D spline because I have it locked into its planes. So I'm just going to come in, snap there, snap there. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say make it curvature. Yes. One second, let me. So, can you still see my sketch tablet? Oh, you can, okay. So, if you are drawing, okay, tangent, curvature, and then you'll also see a G3 that is on there. So, let me, if I come in and I have a arc like that, and then I have an arc like that. If I go and draw a line in between, whatever, horrible line, tangency means that at this point there is no angle. So if we were to zoom in, that is a perfectly smooth line, but there's no anging. It's like a radius. There's no angle at that point. Curvature, what that is that for a certain portion, this curve will follow this curve first before it starts to change into this curve. So you get a smoother transition. It's not just like a ball. Now, exactly. And that's why tangency is the first vertex. The second vertex is curvature. G3, what that means is that you've achieved curvature on this end and this end. So that what it does is this curve, and you can control it, follows the rate of this curvature for X, and then follows the rate of this curve for Y, and then in here is that transition. So if I adjust this curve, it's going to adjust this whole curvature, not just a point. So let me, here we go. So here, and tangency is basically, think of a 3-point arc. That's tangent. Okay? There's not much more you can, it's always a perfect radius. There's not much more you can do in there. Where in here, you can kind of see that the transition blends into here better. And then over here, which is G3, it's blending on all sides. Okay, so these aren't doing a good job. Where do I want it here? There we go. So G0 position, it's touching. G1, G2, the tangency. So here is where it's only following one arc. Where on G3, it's got multiple arcs that it's following. This is where you can... G3 is really, if you're doing nice surfacing, G3 is what you want to achieve. SolidWorks' splines do a crap job of it because it was never designed that way. So you have to really understand how you're going to trick it. There's an image I'm looking for that I don't seem to see. Am I explaining it? It's been so long since I've had to explain it. It's just... Oh, that's what I wanted. Here we go. Come on. Just 1 second while I scroll down. There we go. Oh, it doesn't have C3 on there. You bastards. Okay. Well, I won't waste too much time if it's making sense. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Back to the model here. So, what I've done is I've created this one spline. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create this one too. So, and like I say, the reason I like using 3D splines in this method is because my spline is going to be controlled at this point here, and it's going to be controlled here, so it's not going to be waving all over in 3 dimensions. Like if I go to a side view, it'll show there. So now I can come in and we'll go curvature. We'll come in here. We'll grab curvature. And now you can see the more complicated a surface, the more complicated the methods. So I can now, so tangency, I can't change because I've told it it's got to be curvature. Okay. No, not at that distance. So this is just how it managed it. This angle right here has to be maintained in order to meet tangency. The curvature, I can't grab it and move it all over the place, but I can grab it and slide it back. So what I'm doing now is right now at this distance, why do I have, something's weird there. Right now, what I'm doing is saying, by moving this up and down, I'm saying only follow this curvature for this distance. So if I grab it, what we're going to see is as I grab it, because this natural curvature should go more like that. So as I grab this and I pull it, see how it pulls in more? Exactly. So, but I don't know why I've got, oh, that's a graphics card issue. Okay. So you can play with it. So let's say we're going to have that. And then let's draw the, oh, come on, don't get all goofy on me now. So we'll come in and we'll draw one more 3D line. And sometimes for some of the things I do, I only ever leave things at tangent. I mean, it depends on what I'm working on. So you can see here, this curve though isn't changing up here. Because even if I make the curve wrong, well now obviously I'm not achieving anything, but it's still making it tangent. So let's just pull this back. Okay, now of course I could, if I want this to be more organic in that, I could take this and do that for both of these. Now I could also blow this away, split that sphere, and draw these 3D curves to there. So I'm just bringing it down into 1/2. So then we come back, exit out of the sketch, and again, this is where we want to use the boundary surface because we're asking a little bit more. And we're going to come and go from here to here. And then we'll use that guide curve. And then we'll grab this guide curve. Okay, so in theory, it's asking us what do we want to do with this edge. We're going to tell it tangent. It should have no problem giving it tangency because we've lofted to tangent. And it gave it to us. We're going to do tangent up here. And then over here, we're going to go normal to profile. So that when we do the next one, okay, then we're just going to leave it alone. So I can control tangent influence here a little bit, but I want to control it with the curves, not with the surface. Now the size of that, the size that we made that hole is going to help dictate it. So we could make that hole smaller. Did I make that hole bigger? Yeah. Where did I do that? Oh, that was it. So you can see here, the surface is doing a lot of weird things. So instead of doing this half, I'm going to come back. I'm going to edit. I'm going to clear this out. And let's clear these out. And I'm going to say we're going to do it. I want to use Selection Manager. I want to use this curve and this curve. And then I'm going to use Selection Manager. And we want to be careful. So you saw I used this curve and this side. Hopefully this will work. I want to use this side and this side. Because if I switched them, it would be confused. Because again, it looks at it in a path. Now I'm going to come in and say, use that. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, use that. And then we're going to come back and we're going to go tangent to face. So you can see now that we've got something going on. Now, all this weirdness is me having to play with the curves. But this is how you can kind of get a little bit more. Now, theoretically, the way we worked, if I come back, it updates it. And then it's a matter of, well, that's, you can see by that curve how much it's going in. So then it's a matter of, well, let's just pull that back a little. Let's pull that back a little. Same as this one here. Because the location that we affixed the curve at, update it, but how far you had the curvature out in that, that's not going to change from what you set because there was no constraints. So now you start getting that blend the way you want it. And you might actually be able to do that all the way. You know, like, so instead of cutting, you got the holes cut, do this split line all the way through here.